Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Wednesday, September 23rd, 2015, around 7:19 in the morning, Berwick, Massachusetts. Nice and sunny out. High's going to be in the mid-70s. First day of fall today. Some news to report. The Tampa Bay Rays beat the Boston Red Sox by the score of 5-2. Red Sox back in last place in the American League East. The Boston Bruins beat the Washington Capitals by a score of 2-1 in preseason hockey at the TD Garden. In overtime, the Bruins were up 2-1. At the end of the third period, they just wanted to test out the new 3-on-3 playoff. No, 3-on-3 play format for the overtime for the NHL, just to get the crowd into it. That's going to reduce the number of shootouts. And sad news to report in the world of baseball. Baseball Hall of Famer and Yankees legend and catcher and manager Yogi Berra passed away at the age of 90 of natural causes. Yogi was one of the most famous baseball players in history and stuff. A great character. He wrote many books. He was very funny and stuff. And he's going to be missed, so prayers to his family. And that's about it on the news. My first video subject of the day is my review of the WCW Fall Brawl pay-per-view from 1997 with the War Games, which was held at Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The main event was in War Games, the match beyond. It was the NWO, Kevin Nash, Conan, Six, and Marcus Alexander Bagwell, Buff Bagwell, facing off against the Four Horsemen, Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, Kurt Hennig, Steve Mongo McMichaels, and the Crippler, Chris Benoit. Plus, there was other great matches on this card. And calling the action was Tony Schiavone, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Larry Zbyszko, and for select matches, the Professor Mike Tenane. There was no dark matches, so here's what happened on the pay-per-view. The first match was for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. It was the challenger, Eddie Guerrero. I lie! I cheat! I steal! Facing off against Lionheart Chris Jericho, who was the current Cruiserweight Champion of WCW. And this was about an 18-minute match, back and forth. Very exciting and stuff. The ending had Chris Jericho attempt the suplex, but Eddie Guerrero knocked him over, and then he went for the five-star frog splash and pinched Jericho 1, 2, 3, and Eddie Guerrero's the new WCW Cruiserweight Champion. Great match to get the crowd up. The next match was a #1 contenders match for the WCW World Tag Team Championship. The titles was held at the time by the outsiders of the NWO, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. The Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner, with Ted DiBiase in their corner, facing off against Harlem Heat, Booker T, and Stevie Ray, with Jacqueline in their corner. And this was a decent tag team match. And the Steiners won this match about 11 minutes when Rick pinned Stevie Ray with a German suplex and a clothesline and stuff. They were double teamed as well. So the Steiners were #1 contenders for the WCW World Tag Team Champions. And they would face off against the outsiders in a later date. The next match was for the WCW television title. It was the Ultimo Dragon facing off against the current champion at the time, Das Wonderkid, Alex Wright. So he danced and stuff like that. And Alex was a heel. He turned heel early in the year, and he was a decent heel. And this was a great match and stuff, about 17, 18 minutes, back and forth action and stuff. Ending had Alex Wright hit the Ultimo Dragon with a jawjacker after he tried to put the dragon sleeper, and then Alex Wright put the Ultimo Dragon in a German suplex, guts of 1, 3, and Alex Wright retains the television championship. The next match was Jeff Jarrett with Deborah McMichaels facing off against the man of 1,000 holds, the Iceman, Dean Malenko. But during the match, Jeff Jarrett told Deborah to go back to the area And this was a great match, but like Jeff Jarrett clipped Dean Malenko and worked on his knees, and then he put up the figure 4 leg lock on Dean Malenko, and he tapped out. So Jeff Jarrett wins this match. It was okay match. The next match was Mortis and Wrath with James Vanderberg facing off against the Faces of Fear, Ming and the Barbarian. And this was an underrated match. It was 2 heel teams, but Ming and the Barbarian was the de facto face team. The ending had Ming put the Tonga Death Drop grip on Mortis and Wrath. No, I mean Mortis and James Vanderberg, but and Wrath attacked him, and then Mortis pinned Ming for the 1, 2, 3. The next match was the Giant facing off against Scott Norton, and this was about a 5-minute match. The Giant wins by choke slamming Scott Norton and giving him a drop kick. It was a squash match. Next match was Lex Luger and Diamond Dallas Page DDP Fielder Bane against Macho Man Randy Savage. Ooh yeah, dig it! And Scott Hall, one half of the WCW World Tag Team Champions, and they were with Miss Elizabeth, and this was a decent tag team match and stuff. They were building up some tension between Lex Luger and DDP because they accidentally collided in a match on a tag team match on Nitro earlier in the month and stuff. But the ending had Larry Zbyszko interfere and stuff from the broadcast booth, and then Lex Luger rolls off Scott Hall for the 1, 2, 3, and afterwards Scott Hall and Larry Zbyszko argue and stuff and, fight. And this was building up for a Larry Zbyszko Scott Hall match down the road, which was several months later at NWO WCW Sold Out in January of 1998. So that they were building up to that feud. And the main event for this Fall Brawl pay-per-view, the War Games, the match beyond it was the NWO, Kevin Nash, Conan, Six, and Buff Bagwell, Marcus Alexander Bagwell, Buff, the Stuff, facing off against the 4 Horsemen, Nature Boy Ric Flair, whoa! Kurt Hennig, Steve Mongo McMichaels, the reigning WCW United States Champion, and the Crippler Chris Benoit. And Kurt Hennig was supposedly injured by the 4 Horsemen earlier in the day and stuff, and Kurt Hennig had his arm in a sling and stuff, and when they had all the 7 wrestlers in there, all the NWO members, and then every one of the Horsemen except Kurt Hennig, he was going to go in last because he became the member of the enforcer of the 4 Horsemen because Arn Anderson had to retire and stuff. And when Kurt Hennig comes up, he was going to attack the members of the NWO, but he attacks Mongo McMichaels, and then he gets the handcuffs. And handcuffs all the members of 4 Horsemen, including Flair, and they were beating up everybody on the 4 Horsemen, the NWO, Kevin Nash, Six, Conan, Marcus Alexander Bagwell, and Kurt Hennig. They were saying, we'll quit or we're going to give Flair the beating of his lifetime, and Mongo just decided we got to quit. Afterwards, the NWO wins. Kurt Hennig, it was all a ruse. Kurt Hennig joined the NWO, and afterwards, Kurt Hennig slammed Ric Flair's head with the door in the cage, and it was all disgusting and stuff. It was awful and stuff. It was a beat down by the NWO and stuff. They continued to do it with the Crippler Chris Benoit and Steve Mongo McMichaels and Flair. Flair had to do a stretcher job. It was awful, and it was ending of this pay-per-view. What did I think of the pay-per-view? Well, a little bit solid and stuff. I give it maybe a C plus and stuff. An average WCW pay-per-view. The ending with the War Games, a predictable NWO stuff. It's even though WCW was riding high this time, and the ratings war for Monday Monday nights and stuff, everybody was getting a little bit tired of the same old NWO stuff, which was real hot, but it was starting to become more predictable, in my opinion, and stuff, with everybody joining the NWO for WCW. You didn't need everybody on the WCW roster to join the NWO, because that would be, it would have been very, not that good and stuff like that. So this was the start of the NWO stuff getting a little repetitive and stale and stuff. But it was the best thing that WCW did, but it went over like too much. And that's about it on that. And tomorrow I'll review WCW Fall Brawl 1998 and 2 other video blogs coming today. One will be about Week 3 NFL predictions, and the third and final video blog of the night will be about Boston Celtics guard Avery Bradley. Like I always say, keep calm, and I'm Julie Putting Guy. Molly Rosenblatt of Fox 35 rocks and has nice legs. In the words of Sean Lucha, get out and see you later on. Bye now.